I'd like to thank the president and chairman of Mountain Man Brewing Company and the board of directors for giving us the time here today to talk about something we'd like to brand as Mountain Man Light. I'd like to also thank the distinguished fellows who helped come up with this marketing, and Andrew Knoll, David Workman, Jarrett Snedeker, Jesse Campino, and Monica Grabowski. So we got a dilemma in the brewing industry. There's a 2% year-over-year decline in the consumption of beer in the U.S. We've got significant pressures in our market from the large national brewers. We got an aging demographic and a growth of the light beer category, as well as the craft brew. The question we have to ask ourselves is, should Mountain Man Brewing Company combat their declining revenue by creating a new product offering, Mountain Man Light? Now don't let this fool you. This is a decision that's going to change Mountain Man Brewing Company forever. I'd like to quote Oscar Pragnell, our president and owner of Mountain Man Brewing Company, where he said, "Mountain Man's still standing because we manufacture an exceptional beer with great brand name. We never lost sight of our core customer, and we've never been seduced by the other guy's market." I'd like to tell you today that I'm not looking to chase people outside of our market. I'd like to stick with our core customers, but I'd offer that our core customers' tastes are changing. I'd also like to offer that we're not going to chase some other market. This should be our market. And this presentation will hopefully allow you to see where we're coming from. So there's some pros and there's certainly some cons to what we're looking to do here today. We have a potential to combat the declining revenue. We have an ability to leverage existing production facilities. And this new beer could appeal to a new market. We could create brand loyalty for first-time drinkers. Folks that have grown up in Mountain Man Brewing Company families that, for one reason or another, have started off on light beer and haven't been able to appreciate the taste that Mountain Man Brewing Company can bring. Now, there are significant risks as well. We have the risk of cannibalizing our sales of the traditional Mountain Man lager. We could dilute the brand equity, potentially alienate our core customer, and light beer is a little more expensive to produce. We'd also have additional SG&A costs, and we'd be competing against some of the biggest names in the industry. So, who's drinking our beer today? 81% of Mountain Man Brewing Company drinkers are men. We've got a pretty even distribution across the income gap. But the age of our patrons is getting much older, peaking out around the 45 to 54-year-old range. Now, beer drinkers in general, about 58% versus 42% are men. There's a lot of women drinking light beer. There's a fair amount of women drinking premium beer as well. It's a large portion of the market that we are not tapping at the moment. The domestic light beer segment is very strong amongst the younger generations. Over 58% of beer drinkers are under 44, where our core market is 45 and above. There's a whole generation of future mountain men and women that aren't coming to our beer because we're not offering what they want. You look at the trends of the last 6 years. Light beer has been growing by 4% each year. Premium beer has been shrinking, as well as the popular standard American beers. That's been shrinking by 5% each year. Imports and super premium have also been growing. In the light beer arena, really you've got your big multinationals running the show. You look at who's the best right now, you've got the usual suspects. And this is of all the beers. The best-selling beers overall, most of the ones up there are light. You got Anheuser-Busch Light, and Miller Lite, and Coors Light, Natural Light, Michelob Ultra, Busch Light, and High Life. You've got a lot of big names and light beers. But I offer you that what they don't have in those light beers is the taste and the high quality that Mountain Man Brewing Company brings to all of our traditional beers. If we can come up with a formula and a recipe as good with a light beer as we've done for the last 80 years with our standard beer, we've got something none of these other companies offer. A great tasting light beer. You take a look at the break-even analysis for Mountain Man Light. In the short term, our net income's going to take a hit. We've got a significant investment to make in order to have this product take off. When you look at the projections over the long run, we start seeing some very significant net income increases based on the growth in this segment. If we don't make any changes and we stick with the status quo, we're shrinking, as we have done for the last number of years. $3.1 million in net income in 2005, shrinking to 2.8 in 2010. There's only so long that we have where we can take this kind of a hit before we're no longer making money. Now we've heard what will this do to our traditional beer sales. You can see here, if we assume that Mountain Man Light cannibalizes our own Mountain Man Lager, we do have some significant declines, and it declines a little more than it would have in the status quo for our traditional lager. If we assume 20%, which is a pretty bad case assumption, you're really hurting in the Mountain Man Lager arena. But even still, when you add that to the increases with the Mountain Man Light, you got a full analysis here showing that it's a no-brainer. Even if you're cannibalizing to the tune of 20% from your traditional lager, you're showing a $4.5 million net income in 2010. I'm sorry, $5.5 million net income in 2010 with a 20% sales loss versus $2.8 million with the status quo. Nearly double the income. So I offer you, Mountain Man Light is the right thing for us to do, because sometimes you need to work a little longer and play a little harder. Thank you, and enjoy.